In light of this data, we may repeat the same question. Are we witnessing a preventable tragedy of catastrophic proportions? If the answer is yes, what, then, is the meaning of human life and suffering for contemporary society? Why is this infamous trade growing exponentially? What is the civilized world really doing to put an end to this scandal that we hardly ever hear about? There sure is more concern about the rising price of gasoline in the media, while matters such as these are hardly ever mentioned, and even less so investigated in depth. Furthermore, what is an ethically responsible tourist to do when he comes to know about these atrocities? The technical and lengthy answers to these questions may be better off left to the sociologist, the moral philosopher, or the communications expert, or to law enforcement specialists. Yet, as mere human beings activists, we can say that a verifiable tragedy is unfolding before our own eyes. Because of that, we have chosen not to live in denial, and we know that children cannot wait. We advocate a forceful response at all levels, beginning with the immediate rescue and rehabilitation of Cancun's sexually exploited children. We invite all people of goodwill to join us in this uneven and uphill battle in which we have been engaged for more than a decade, to help us rescue the disadvantaged and to clearly denounce the injustice and cruelty of the child sex tourism industry. We invite you to help, to feed and heal. We invite you to a sustained commitment to put an end to child sexual tourism in Cancun, Mexico. La Casita is the only comprehensive project in Cancun reaching out to these children. We are currently providing 200 victims of abuse and exploitation with quality, full-time education, all basic health services, legal protection, and a home complete with a nurturing, loving environment and individualized attention. For minor victims of sexual abuse, the way to recovery is a long and often dangerous journey. Escape from the cycle of exploitation is usually the first breakthrough. This crucial opportunity was astutely seized by young Teresa, a child who knew abuse and violence ever since she was able to remember. My father was an alcoholic. He used to beat me and my sister savagely since we were very little. All I remember is the pain, the blood, and the terror I felt. Many nights, she continues, my father would enter into our bedroom and begin molesting us. He tried to force himself upon us several times, but we were just too small. Wanting to escape this nightmare, Teresa sought refuge with a close relative, an uncle. No efforts were made by her immediate family to reclaim her, so she quietly stayed there. Violence wasn't as bad in this house, she recounts. It was mostly verbal, but at times it got physical. Anyhow, there was nowhere else to turn. Teresa didn't know it, but instead of her father lurking at night, now her uncle and adult cousin were about to prey on her. After being raped by both, she once again ran away. Incestuous aggression prepared the ground for a childhood in which Teresa regarded abuse as normal. Soon after moving to promising Cancun, Teresa was an easy catch for a violent, sociopathic pimp. He brutally exploited her for years and threatened to kill her if she ever denounced him. Desperate and traumatized, captive Teresa finally dared to tell her story to a neighbor. He immediately told her about the work of Dr. Patricia Sewani, founding president of our outreach for sexually exploited children. When she heard that there was a safe place where she could stay and somebody who would defend her, she saw a glimpse of hope shine through the darkness that had always dominated her life. It wasn't long before Teresa devised a way to sneak out of her slave house and showed up at the doorstep of La Casita. She was immediately welcomed and received professional counseling. Her case was turned over to a qualified attorney. She never returned to the slave house again, and she was not killed. Today, Teresa lives in La Casita. Years have passed. Her post-traumatic stress disorder was medically treated and is now gone. She is successfully pursuing an education, and her parameters of what a normal life is have changed dramatically. I am really glad I found this place. Here, I found what I had always been looking for. People who would love me and care for my well-being. Dr. Patricia Sewane is the president and founder of Defensa de la Mujer y el Menor Desvalido. This project is better known as La Casita, a Spanish phrase that conveys the idea of warmth in a cozy home. Married and the mother of 2 young men, Dr. Sewane has the important responsibility of coordinating the courageous team of volunteers and professionals that rescues exploited children in Cancun and its surrounding areas. They have been working in this part of Mexico for the past 15 years, giving free medical and legal aid to thousands and rescuing many vulnerable street girls and boys. Experience has paid off. These humanitarian workers know all the tricks of the system, and when it comes to defending the helpless, they are dead serious in their commitment. More than one corrupt, overconfident politician has learned this the hard way. Some have been publicly exposed in the media or lost their jobs. Cynical pimps and menacing child abusers have found themselves, unexpectedly, serving long jail sentences. However, the tentacles of the child sex industry are many and strong. There is still much that remains to be done. La Casita is currently the only comprehensive project in Cancun reaching out to these children. It provides 200 victims of extreme abuse and exploitation with full-time education, all basic health services, legal protection, and a home with a nurturing, caring environment and individualized attention. Dr. Patricia Sewane explains how the project began.
My professional background is in the medical sciences. I am a practicing licensed oral surgeon. For 10 years I held a post as full-time university professor, teaching both at the undergraduate and graduate levels, while raising my own kids. When I got involved in defending exploited children, I soon realized I needed to go far beyond my first field of knowledge, so I decided to pursue studies in human behavior and related disciplines like education and sociology. I received a master's in humanities with a concentration in child psychology and human rights from Anáhuac University. It was hard but worthwhile work. It seems that ever since I became aware of the silent tragedy, I haven't ceased to study and learn in order to try to help better. Each child is precious and unique, and specialized attention is so important. When I found out that a 5-year-old girl in our community was being sexually exploited, I found so many obstacles in my attempts to help her that something struck me as odd. A few neighbors and like-minded people joined this effort. We were bewildered that nothing was being done. That was the turning point for me, and I haven't looked back ever since. We began to reach out immediately, often housing so-called street kids in our own homes for weeks and months at a time.